Okay, let's talk about a different category. This is what I'm just going to basically call fit and finish, and really mostly the interior, because one of the knocks on Tesla has been, well, yeah, it's a $100,000 car, but it's not a $100,000 interior. Again, I think that's intentional on their part. I think they're going for a different approach to the luxury car, the performance car, than everybody else we've seen do it. But let's take a look at what the height of luxury was in 2003, because really this car was it. In 2003, about 15 years before the Tesla was built, here's what you get with the Mercedes. I think like $130,000, $135,000 or whatever this car was new. You know, it's real wood. Like I said in another video, if you hold a match up to this, it's going to catch on fire. Hand-stitched leather, you know, double, everything done to try to make this car look very, very nice and very luxurious. Real suede headliner. You know, the whole thing is suede. It's not just a cheap vinyl. Hand stitching on the dashboard. Everything flows perfectly. It's very, very beautiful. Even, you know, 17 years later, it's still a beautiful car. So with a Mercedes, you get ultra luxury. You get so much comfort and wood and natural materials that, you know, the car, even much later in its life, still looks very, very good and holds up very well. Now, it's not going to hold up to wear and tear as good as a Tesla, but it is beautiful. It does aesthetically, I think, win that battle. Even the new Mercedes is going to be nicer than the Tesla on the interior. You know, the seats are super comfortable. They're just great. So I think on fit and finish wise, you know, even a 2003 Mercedes is going to be nicer than the Tesla. But let's walk over to the Tesla. We'll talk about what it does well and why I think they're probably doing it on purpose. Okay, so let's talk Tesla interior, right? Because if there's one knock that I hear a lot on these cars, it's that, well, it's a $100,000 car, but the interior doesn't match up as well as other cars, and you know, there's no way around it. I think that's probably true, but it's intentional. I really think there's a purpose behind why these cars don't have the natural materials and the attention to wood and leather that other cars have used for years. But let's look at what this car is and what it does well, because intentionally, I think the focus on the Tesla obviously is technology. They're not looking to hide this huge 17-inch screen with, you know, wood and leather around it. It's just nightly trimmed in a nice bezel that looks very much like your tablet at home or your computer. That's intentional. You know, the fake carbon fiber, and that's because I was cheap. It's not because Tesla was cheap. I just bought the you know, the fake carbon fiber option. I didn't pay for the real one. It's not leather. Nothing in this car is leather. It kind of looks like it, but even the seats are not leather in Teslas. They're an artificial material. So you do get a suede headliner. I don't know that it really picks up on this camera very well, but it is a suede headliner. And the interior is extremely comfortable. This massive roof that's in these cars is all glass. Again, I'm not sure it shows up too well in the video, but you know that. You know Teslas all have a glass roof. And amazingly, not much heat comes through there. It's very comfortable to drive this car even in a Nashville summer. And so I think the reason Tesla does this, and we're going to talk about maintenance in a little bit, is I think Tesla knows that these cars are going to last a long time. And quite frankly, that soft leather and that buttery feel of the Mercedes or a Jaguar or any of those companies known for just beautiful interiors, those aren't going to hold up to the kind of miles that a Tesla drivetrain is going to hold up to. So they intentionally have gone with materials that will last as long as the car. That's why there's not real leather, and that's why there's not real wood and that sort of thing, because this car, I think, is going to last for quite a long time with a lot of miles on it. Now, the Mercedes is a 2003, so you could say, well, it's been around a long time, but it's only got 110, 111,000 miles on it. That may sound like a lot of miles, but you know, annually it's like, what, 8,000 miles a year. You know, the Teslas are going to go 15, 20,000 miles a year for 10, 15, 20 years. And so I think they've done the interior intentionally to make it so that they hold up to that sort of mileage and that sort of use. Now, time will tell, but I think they're on the right track. And when we talk about maintenance, I know that from our ownership experience, there's no comparison to the Tesla and any other car I've ever owned. The maintenance is just almost zero on the Teslas. So let's talk about maintenance. Okay, maintenance on a Tesla versus maintenance on a 17-year-old Mercedes. Not fair. All right. So, but you can fairly judge maintenance on a Tesla versus maintenance on a new Mercedes. It's going to be about the same situation because of the way the Tesla is designed. And I still have people that can't believe this when I tell them that. There's very little bit of lubrication or oil or fluids in the car. The only real fluids in the car are the brake fluid, and there's some coolant that's not the type of coolant that we all associate with radiators. It keeps the batteries chilled out. But there's no motor oil, there's no differential fluid, there's no transmission fluid, there's not hydraulic fluid for the suspension, there's not, just a myriad of fluids that are in regular cars. I'm not even sure how they do the air conditioners in this car. It doesn't even use the kind of Freon that we use in the other cars. But so from that perspective, there's just not a lot of stuff to be replaced. There's not as many seals that leak, and quite frankly, that's what gets you on these other cars is stuff leaking, just seals eroding over time. The amount of O-rings and seals I've replaced, pumps in these cars that I fool around with for my own cars is unreal. Most of what goes wrong with these cars is pumps. So, the Tesla, they don't even have scheduled maintenance. So the first year we bought it, we brought it in, they did almost nothing to it and charged us really maybe a couple $100. It was nothing. And then they said, you know what, don't even bother. Don't bring it back. It's fine. If it needs something, it'll tell you. Whereas every other luxury car I've ever had, you're on that maintenance schedule, right? And if you don't do it, well, there goes your CPO warranty or your actual warranty. And every time you bring a Mercedes or a Lexus or a Porsche, what else have we had? Range Rover, all of them. Whenever you take them into service, that annual service, nothing is $200 or $400. It's $1,200, $1,400, $1,800 for the 15,000 mile update, and then, my God, heaven help you if it needs a timing belt or something along those lines. So, even when they don't break, the maintenance to keep them on the road is prohibitive. And then when they do break, Nelly, because there's a reason that this $130,000 car is now worth $8,000. What Cars and Bids told me a couple of weeks ago. Again, there's another video on that. But $7,000, $8,000 is what this car's worth now. So where did it all go? It's maintenance. It's so expensive to keep these cars on the road that they depreciate so fast after they're out of warranty because they're just outrageous to keep on the road. There's so many things that can break, and when they do break, it's outrageously expensive. So you basically need, a shop like this to be able to own and fool around with 8, 10, 12, 15-year-old European cars because they break so much. And that's not really a knock. It's just the way it is. The technology of an internal combustion engine and a manual, not manual, but a gear transmission, a gearbox full of hydraulic fluid and shifters and that sort of thing, it's not possible to make that car, low maintenance. Now, Lexus has done a pretty good job of it, but even a Lexus is not going to compare favorably to the maintenance on a Tesla. It just can't. There's just too many moving parts. The Tesla is going to win on maintenance, short-term, long-term, new versus new, whichever, just because of the facts of the electric engine. And battery life, it's getting better and better every day. This one's 3 years old. They've already, incredibly improved the battery life of these Teslas. The battery day is going to be next week, so we'll see, what that has to say of it. But, from a maintenance perspective, there's just no comparison between the electric cars and the old internal combustion engines. And old internal combustion is, yesterday. It's not just this 2003 Mercedes, it's the old cars they're all old cars compared to the electric cars. So let's talk about, why I did this then, because it's obvious, Tesla is going to beat a 2003 Mercedes in just about every regard. But here's the thing. Driving a car, to me, is not just about empiricals and costs and maintenance and 0 to 60 and horsepower and all that. There's a pleasure to this. these aren't really daily drivers, right? Like we should all drive Toyota Camrys if we just want to get back and forth. That's a no-brainer. But if you're going to drive something, you know, your own personal taste takes you one direction or another. And for me, it's, you know, the overall driving experience of the car. How much fun is it to drive? How much does the performance kind of give you a jolt? All that sort of thing. So the best way I can describe it, as other people have said it, smiles per dollar is really what it comes down to. So even though the Tesla is outrageously expensive, smiles per dollar of the electric drivetrain and kind of the technology and the overall excitement of driving something this new, that the electrons can be had, you know, if you have a solar system, you can power this car and have clean burning electrons, and you can mash the pedal acceleration every time you hit a stoplight, because who cares? You're just burning free, clean electrons. So, you know, even though it's expensive, smiles per dollar are pretty good with the Tesla, especially once you get into the real technology of it, the self-driving and the summons and, you know, just everything that the car does is amazing. Although my wife uses absolutely none of it. All she cares about, and this is important to her, she would say it's worth the cost of the car, is she never has to go to the gas station. You know, that's all she cares about. That's why she drives this car. She never uses any of the tech on it, really. She just loves it. You never have to go to the gas station. So, yeah, that's probably where the Tesla, you know, is going to justify its smiles per dollar. But internal combustion engines still have their place, and I love the roar of a V12. I love the feel of a wide tire bouncing around a corner and gripping and kind of sidestepping its way through a course. So I love these cars at the cost they're at. You know, I love these cars at $8,000 or $10,000. A Porsche 944 turbo, you know, anything. You know, the Jaguar XKRs, BMW M5. My God, what an awesome car! How many iterations of that car have always been incredible. But I don't love them at $100,000 anymore. You know, I just think that smiles per dollar, you know, the electric cars, not just Tesla, are going to take over. So, you know, at $8,000, $10,000, smiles per dollar on these cars are amazing. And I actually prefer these cars to the Tesla in some things. And I don't drive a Tesla every day. That's my wife's car. But, you know, if I was going to go have some fun, you know, these cars are still great. Tesla doesn't make a convertible yet, although it's on the way. So if you want a convertible, you know, you're going to have to get an internal combustion car. So I guess my overall idea would be there's still a place for internal combustion engines and kind of old school cars, just not at $100,000 anymore. You know, a Tesla, even though, gosh, the Model 3, you would want to compare a Model 3's empirical numbers to a new Mercedes, it wouldn't even be close. But I think that the Teslas and other cars like them are going to take over that segment as more and more people kind of check out the electric cars. But there's still a place for these internal combustion engines in the $8,000, $10,000 range, and I still love them. Obviously, I've got a bunch of them, and they break down all the time, and I fix them again, and it doesn't bother me a bit. So thanks for hanging out. Hope you enjoyed this. We're going to make some more videos soon, but I wanted to get this one out there and kind of go a different direction. Leave some feedback in the comments, maybe subscribe.